What is up? It's Jesse here with Happy Homes, and today I'm going to go through a side-by-side comparison comparing what it would have looked like buying a house in 2021 where rates were in the threes and house prices were going for way over list price compared to buying a house in today's market where the house is actually priced lower than it was getting accepted for last year. As we know, the housing market is declining. So one of the questions that we get consistently asked is, was it better to buy a house last year with a lower interest rate paying more than buying a house with a higher interest rate for less? Well, I'm going to bring up my presentation and do a side-by-side comparison. And then at the very end, I'm actually going to go through my final thoughts. If you are thinking about buying or thinking about waiting, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of both of those. Also, where a house's price is going. We've also seen them reduce the rates down to a certain percentage that actually spiked the market back up. So we're going to talk about exactly what that rate looks like at the end as well. And so many other goodies based on what the Fed is doing and also how the presidential election going into 2024 is going to affect the housing market. So I'm going to get into this presentation right now. So if you want to know exactly what the differences are, stay tuned. Hey, before I get into this presentation, I just want to let you know that if you want to see more videos of what it's like being a first-time home buyer or a secondary home buyer in any sort of real estate market, there's only one thing you got to do, and that's hit that subscribe button and make sure that you turn on your notifications so that way you never miss the opportunity to watch a video that I put out. So I try to cover all the videos out there that are relevant to today's housing market, as well as other housing market situations that we're going to encounter in the future or ones that we've encountered in the past. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up my presentation and we're going to get right into this. Cool. So the first thing I'm going to show you is exactly where we were in 2021 with home prices and interest rates. So what I have right here is a mortgage calculator that I pulled up and was able to plug in some information. We're going to go down through this on the right-hand side where you see this tab that says breakdown. So this is a home that was listed at $400,000 in 2021, and it sold for $500,000. As you know, most houses were put on the market at $400,000 and sold for way over list price. So this would have been a 20% price increase over what the home was listed for. So $500,000 house was listed at $400,000. Sold at $500K. So as you probably know, or maybe don't know, that there's what they call an appraisal gap waiver. So if you were to go into this situation, what might have been a risk was going from 400 to 500,000, and then the house didn't appraise at 500. So let's say it only appraised at 400. Now you had to come up with an extra $100,000 difference to offset that less appraisal. So this is what people were talking about, buying into negative equity. Well, we're going to talk about whether or not you bought into negative equity or not at the end of this, where we compare everything, because I think you're going to be really shocked to find out which option might be better: higher price, low interest, or high interest, low price. So let's keep moving along. So they put 5% down. So their down payment was $25K. They got 3.5% interest. Their PMI, which means they had to carry a mortgage insurance because they had less than 20% loan to value ratio. So they had to carry a $301 a month mortgage premium. So the thing is in both comparisons, I'm going to use the same percentage for PMI. So the only way you can get your PMI down is by putting a higher down payment down. So if you carry 20% LTV, you don't even carry mortgage insurance. If you put 10 or 15% down, it's going to lessen that number because it's less risk for the company when you have higher loan to value ratios. And if you have better credit, it also lowers your PMI. So if you have a credit score of, say, 740 versus 660, your PMI is going to be substantially less. I've seen people with 660 credit scores carry PMI at, say, $400, $500 a month, where they have a 740 credit score and they're carrying it for $100 a month. So just like your interest rate, PMI also is very impacted by your credit score. So this house also carries $417 a month property taxes. So what we just did is we essentially took 1% of the sales price and put it in the property taxes, and monthly insurance is $100. You can see it's all over here. It's all the numbers that you need. So the monthly payment at 3.5% interest, buying a $400,000 listed house, closing at 500, putting 5% down. So taking out a loan of $475K, your monthly payment would have been $2,950. So what does this look like over the course of 10 years? So people always say that they buy and sell every 7 to 10 years. So I want to show you guys what the 10-year equity results look like, because what a lot of people aren't thinking about is they're thinking about is how much is my house going to be worth next year? Very few people buy a house today and sell in a year. But what a majority of people do is buy and sell every 7 to 10 years. So we have to look at what the real value is in the home over the long term, right? So over 10-year results, you would have paid $108,000 into the principal, which you can see right here in my chart up here underneath the schedule. You would have paid $249,806 into the interest, which would have given you a remaining balance of your starting loan of $475 down to $366,718. If you look at a home value over the course of 10 years, the average increase in home prices increased 48% in 10-year time period. So that would put you at a $961,538 value, or an equity of $961 minus $366,718, which equals $594,820 in equity in your house. That's a pretty good investment, if you ask me. Let's compare that to what is going on in 2022 with home prices and interest rates based on the current market trends. And you can always use these numbers no matter what market you're in. Same scenario. This house was listed for $500,000 and is selling for $450,000, 10% below market value. So their down payment would be substantially less, so $22,500 at 5%. Their interest rate here is 7.25% interest, because that's the current rate today. Their monthly premium is at $295. Their property taxes are down a little bit less because it's 1% of the sales price. Their monthly insurance remains the same. So going from 3.5% at a closed price of $500,000 to a 7.5% interest rate closing at $450,000 takes your monthly mortgage to $3,979. Now I'm going to compare the two on the next slide. So 10-year results, you guys pay $64,473 to principal, $319,766 towards interest. So your remaining balance would have been $368,290. The total home value, if it increased by 48%, would put you at an equity of $497,095. And you can come over here and see all that information lines up here versus here. So let's compare these side by side, shall we? So you have your 2021 breakdown, you have your 2022 breakdown, and here's your differences between the two. So you have a 20% increase in list price between 2021 and 2022. However, you only see a 10% increase in closing price. So in 2022, the home would have been closed at $450,000 versus $500,000 from the year before, but the year before it was worth $400,000. So you saw a 10% increase in technical value, not 20%. That's why we're seeing the market go backwards right now, down 10%. It's getting back more to where it should be. So you still lost $50,000 in equity off the top if you would have sold in 2022 versus 2021, or if you think about it from a buyer standpoint. You also, in 2022, you're getting a loan for less. So you're getting a loan for less than $47,500 than if you would have got a loan in 2021. So in your head, you're thinking like, wow, I'm actually winning. I'm actually putting more equity into my pocket out of the gate, or I'm not spending as much money, right? Well, this is where people get tripped up, is because the interest rate increased by 3.25%. So your monthly PMI would have dropped $6. Your monthly mortgage or property taxes would have reduced by $9. Your insurance would have remained the same, but your monthly payment, by even getting a smaller mortgage, would be higher by $1,029. That's freaking wild. Now, if you look at the 10-year results of paying a higher interest rate with a lower cost, you would have spent $43,000 less towards the principal with a higher interest rate. You would have paid $69,960 more in interest. And believe it or not, your remaining balance, if you look at the two breakdowns from 2021 to 2022, you actually have a higher balance by $1,572, even though you were spending an extra $1,000 a month. So imagine $1,000 a month, times that by 120. That's 120 months over 10 years. You're basically just putting 120K into the atmosphere, right? I'd love to hear your comments down below. And if you like what I'm presenting here and showing you the difference of, give me a thumbs up. The value of 865, 385 is what your home would have been worth over the course of a 48% increase based on 2022 prices. So then you have to take your 2021 and you're like, well, 865 and 961, that shows a massive difference. It's not 1,572. So the equity in 2021 was 594 because the value was 961. Well, the prices dropped from 2021 to 2022. So you have to put them on the even playing field, which is how we got this number. So realistically, if you put the value of 2021 back down to the same value of 2022, because even though you bought a house for more last year, doesn't mean it's going to be worth more in 10 years because we have to reset the playing field to what it's worth in 2022. So we have to look at what is a 48% increase from 2022. And this is exactly what it is. It would be exactly 865, 385, equity of 498, 667, equity 497, 095. So you would have less equity in your house at a lower sales price and a higher interest rate. So when people ask you all the time, what is better, a crazy market with low interest rates or a slow market with high interest rates? The true answer is it really depends on your situation. Obviously, in both cases, you almost have the same amount of equity in the 10-year time period. So let's go into my final thoughts and talk about this and go through exactly what is happening with the market and where it's going and how things are going to be impacted moving into the 2023 home buying season, because a lot of people are like wondering where interest rates are going. And I'm going to talk about that. So we do know that the Fed is currently holding the rates down until the end of Q1 2023. And the reason why is because they want to see what happens during this holiday spending period. Q4 is the busiest shopping time of the year. So the Fed, in historical fashion, has said, we're just going to hold the rates where they are, and we'll see exactly what happens. The problem is a lot of people have had limited credits on their credit cards because of what is going on with inflation. So they have less money to spend. So my prediction is that we're going to see less money come into the economy during Q4, and it's going to cause the Fed to increase rates again, moving into Q2 and Q3 of 2023. And the Fed doesn't just measure their rate evaluation based on the inflation. They say that they need to get housing appreciation down to 0.5% before they slow inflation. But the only way you can slow inflation is there's like 6 key indicators. And one of them is unemployment rates. Well, our unemployment rate is still very, very low. So until that really starts to spike up, we're going to be in a big problem. So here's the other thing you need to consider is that every Q1 during every real estate market, whether it's a slow market, a crashing market, a rising market, Q1 prices always spike. So if you're asking me, when is the best time to buy a house? The answer is if you're looking for the best value and you just care about that total value of the home, Q4 in any situation is always going to give you the best bang for the buck in the calendar year. We do know that in Q1 2023, prices are going to be higher than Q4. The problem is that people typically are trying to make moves in Q4 to like offload their investment properties, or the end of the year is coming, so they just want to hurry up and sell. And from a real estate perspective, the busiest day of the year for expired listings, so this means their house never sold, was January 1st. So everybody is pushing as hard as they can to sell their house in December and November. So that way they don't have to go around the bend of the year. And then now they're competing with everybody that waited till the first quarter of 2023 or whatever year you're looking at right now to compete with all the new listings. The busiest months of the year in real estate, they always think it's the summer. It's actually the spring. The reason they think it's the summer is because that's when the houses close after they go into contract. So typically March, April are the two busiest times of the year for buying real estate. So if you are wanting to be in a less competitive environment, Q3, Q4 are the two best quarters to buy with the least amount of competition. However, my prediction is that Q4 2023 is when we'll start to see the rates come back down. And the reason why is because we're going to be heading in to a presidential race. And Joe Biden, whether you like him or not, he loves to look good. So we've seen him hold gas prices down through all the way up to the midterms, and now they're stopped using reserves. It's going to cause the gas prices to go up. And my belief, even though the Fed says the inflationary rates aren't going up because of the ties to political reasons, I highly disagree with that. My belief is that once we get towards Q4 2023. And this is what everyone in the lending industry is saying too. And I'm not talking about the ones that said, oh, rates are going to come down in Q1 2023. I'm talking about the ones that said that interest rates were going to be at the sevens by the end of 2022. Those are the people I listened to. And that's exactly what's happened. So their belief is that rates will start leveling off and then going down towards Q4 2023. So where do rates need to be to see the most action? And so for you as a consumer to know is that when we saw rates go down to 5% about 2 months ago, we saw rates went from like up into the sevens and then they dropped to the fives really quick. And then they went right back up. And we saw an entire influx of applications and closings go down when that 5%. So what that told us is that the real estate market does not need to see 3% interest rates or 4% interest rates. Where the rates need to be is in the fives. So when we see 5% interest rates again, we're going to be in a very, very competitive environment. So that's when you're going to see the housing prices take off again because we don't have enough inventory. So we see that inventory levels rising right now. And it's not because they're building more homes. It's because buyers are backing out of the market. So that inventory level is being falsely inflated. Also, what you have to look at, because people are like, are we heading into another bubble? Are we heading into another crash? And the reality is if you look at the crash of 2008, we had demand really, really low, inventory really, really high. Today, we're actually dead even. Our demand is equal to our inventory level, even though we've had all these buyers back out of the market. But when we had demand really high and inventory levels really low, guess what happened? When the buyers came out, it just started lowering the demand level down to here. So our inventory levels have their what they call falsely inflated, because balanced market, when you have a lot of inventory and a lot of buyers, is up here. Right now we have low demand and low inventory. So as more and more people stop putting in applications to buy homes, it's raising up the inventory levels. So as soon as we have that interest rate drop back down, and you'll see it happening, it'll go from sevens to six to fives. If I was a home buyer, I would not be concerned that the rates are going to keep going up, because we know that we have the future of which everything is heading in a specific direction is saying that we're going to get to this point, and we can already see it slowing down, and we can already see everything needing to happen to get rates back down. So what happens is when rates are going down, you're going to end up back in a 2001 position, but not with an interest rate. You're going to end up being in multiple bidding situations with a 5% interest rate. And that's what's going to cause a lot of problems. So if you ask me what's the best thing to do, it's really hard to time the market. Here's the thing. You can see the market start to shift with the interest rates and everything because it takes a couple months for it to convert. So everybody always has a little bit of time, and you can fully see it if you're paying attention. So you'll start to see the rates start to tick back down. And when they do, you said, well, Jesse, what's the most perfect time to buy? I said, as soon as I see that turn, I would buy then. And then I would plan on refinancing, because what's going to happen is when you get all these buyers back in the market, it's going to go into a bidding war. It's going to naturally bring the price back up. And then you can refinance down the road. As long as you have 90% loan to value ratios in your house, you can refinance. To get rid of the mortgage insurance, you're going to need to have 80% loan to value. So actually, one of my favorite things to do is buy with 5% down. And then when the housing price takes off, I refinance when it's got 20% LTV. So I'm able to get rid of my mortgage insurance, and now I have 20% loan to value. And as long as I don't take any money out, I pay minimal fees. A lot of the banks I bank with actually include one free refinance with using their lending product, which is amazing. So I'd love to hear your guys' comments of what you guys think about that presentation, where you guys think the real estate market's going, and all the fun things that are in between. And if this is something that you like learning more of, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate you guys. Stay safe out there. And until next time, we'll catch you later.